So I'm headed outside to spend my day in the pool. My sister just called and said, "Hey, do you all want to come over for dinner?" And I said, "Sure, I'll bring dessert." So I'm in the kitchen whipping up what I always make for dessert in these situations. It's a dessert that everybody loves. I always have the ingredients on hand and it is super fast to make. So I'm going to show you how to make my chocolate chip cake. This dessert is so incredibly good. If you have leftovers, it is good for days and days, and it's even good for breakfast. You're going to whip it up in one bowl. You don't even need a hand mixer. 45 minutes in the oven, and you have a delicious, beautiful chocolate chip cake. And today I've decided to kick it up a notch. I'm going to add one little special ingredient into my chocolate chip cake recipe that is going to blow your mind. So let's get this cake cooking so that I can get out in the pool. So to get started, you just need a regular, really big mixing bowl. Have all your ingredients out beside you because this is going to whip up so incredibly fast. I have my oven preheating to 350 degrees, and chocolate chip cake is made in a regular bundt pan. I'm assuming you can make it in a regular pan if you want to. I've never tried that. I have, however, taken this exact recipe and made muffins with them, so you can absolutely do that. So first off, into my big mixing bowl, I'm going to add 1 stick of room temperature butter, or you can soften it slightly, but you do need it to be softened because we're mixing this cake by hand. Then you're going to add in 1 8-ounce container of sour cream. Give that just a quick little mash together. You can see how soft my butter is right now. I'm going to add 2 eggs. Another little stir around just to get the yolks broken up. Then I'm going to add 1 cup of regular granulated sugar. All right, so take a regular spoon and just stir this around really well. Get everything incorporated. And if your butter doesn't totally spread out into your mixture, it's totally fine to have some butter chunks. If you have some of those chunks, just press them against the side of your bowl and they'll break up. So next I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of baking soda, followed by 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of regular table salt. So now it's time to add my secret ingredient, and it is instant espresso powder. Chocolate and coffee go so well together, and adding just a little bit of instant espresso powder really brings out the flavor in the chocolate chips that I'm going to be adding into my cake. Now, if you can't find this at your local grocery, you can absolutely leave it out if you want to, but I just think it really makes the cake fantastic and elevates it from, oh, it's a really good cake, to, whoa, this is a freaking fantastic cake. I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of this deliciousness, along with 1 teaspoon of really great vanilla. Then add 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And give this a really good stir. And at this point, I'm going to whip out a silicone scraper so I can scrape down the sides of my pan and make sure that all of my dry ingredients are incorporated into the batter. Then I'm going to go back to my regular spoon so that I can whip this up. You don't want to overmix it, you just want to make sure that everything is incorporated. And you can see how I still have chunks of butter throughout the batter. That's totally fine. So at this point, set your cake batter over to the side and grab your bundt pan. We want to take a stick of butter and grease the inside of this bundt pan really well, all the way up the sides, in the center. Make sure that it is fully coated all the way up to the top of this bundt pan. When you put your cake into the bundt pan, it's not going to come all the way up, but when it cooks, it is going to rise and totally fill this pan. That's why you want to make sure that it's greased really well, because a bundt pan, you turn it upside down to get your cake out, and if you don't grease it well, your cake is going to stick. So I like to take a stick of butter and just kind of pull back the wrapper just a little bit and just start greasing the pan. And then I'm going to get my hands in here and really spread this around well. That is a fully greased bundt pan. So you all know I love to cook, and I've written 5 cookbooks at this point, full of such simple and delicious meals, side dishes, desserts, drinks, everything that I want to share with you and things that my family loves. So I'd love for you to browse and download my cookbooks. Links are in the description box. So now that I have my batter mixed up to this point, everything is in the bowl. The cake is finished, other than adding my chocolate chips. Now, I like to use mini chocolate chips. You can use regular size chocolate chips if you want to. When you bite into the cake, you're just going to get more of chocolate chunks, whereas the mini chocolate chips just kind of give you a little bit of chocolate throughout the cake. So I do prefer these. I've made it both ways. It's fine, but this is my favorite way, is with mini chocolate chips. And I also prefer the semi-sweet. You can use milk chocolate, you can use dark chocolate, whatever suits you. I just prefer the semi-sweet. And now I'm going to add in a full 10-ounce bag of mini chocolate chips. And just stir that by hand, only to get the chocolate chips incorporated. And our cake's ready to go. So I got my bundt pan back out. I'm going to use my silicone scraper to make sure that I get everything into this bundt pan. And I like to put a scoop in and just turn the bowl. Put another scoop in, turn the bowl. It's a really thick, sticky batter. Just make sure, or try your best to get every little last bit of goodness scraped out of that pan. You don't want to leave any cake or chocolate chips behind. That's one reason I love a silicone scraper. You can get all of it. So if your cake is uneven on the top, it's totally fine to put it in the oven that way, or you can spread it out a smidge. Just try not to flatten it down, because, this is a rustic cake. So I did get a little bit right there. I was messy. I'm going to wipe that off with a paper towel, only because that will burn because it was so thin right there, and I just want to get that off. So I told you that was super easy. One bowl, my cake is ready. I'm going to pop this into my oven, which is preheated already to 350 degrees, and I'm going to bake it for about 45 minutes. Keep a watch on it starting at about 42 minutes. This cake is going to rise almost to the full height of the pan, close to it, and it is going to be golden brown on the top. After 45 minutes and you think it's done, make sure to test it with a toothpick. Stick it in several parts of the cake just to make sure that your cake is fully cooked. Don't overcook the cake. It's golden brown. I can see the chocolate chips have come to the top, and the cake is almost at the top of my bundt cake pan, which is perfect. So I'm just going to let it sit here for a little bit, maybe 5 minutes or so, and then we'll dump it out. So as you all know, in a bundt pan, we're going to dump this upside down. So this, what you're seeing here, is actually going to be the bottom of the cake. But it looks delicious enough right now to just dig right in. You could put your chocolate chip cake on a beautiful cake pan. I'm going to be putting mine in this original Tupperware that my mother-in-law gave me, gosh, probably 25 years ago. I still use it to this day, and it's perfect for transporting. Alrighty, so it's been about 7 minutes since my cake has been out cooling, and I'm going to flip it upside down. So my bundt pan is still pretty warm, so I'm going to use an oven mitt to hold the bottom, put my pan on top, and then in one big swoop, very carefully, I'm going to flip it and hope that it came out beautifully. And it did! Woo! Oh, look at that absolutely beautiful chocolate chip bundt cake. So I'm just going to let it sit here until it is completely 100% cool. Then I'm going to put the lid on and take it to my sister's, and I'll see you there, and you can see us cut the cake. Slice off this beautiful cake that is full of gooey chocolate chips, and oh my goodness, that espresso flavor. You can eat it alone, you can top it with vanilla ice cream, have it in the morning for breakfast, warm it up in a toaster oven, put it in an air fryer. This cake will last for days and days if everybody doesn't eat it first. It's just a family favorite, so easy to whip up in a flash, and it uses ingredients that I always have in my house. That's why I love it. I've been making this cake for, gosh, probably 30 years now, and it's one of my go-tos. So thanks for joining me in the kitchen. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and now you can add it to your list of favorites that you can whip up in a flash. See you later.